welcome to another edition of the Defender Roundtable, where we tackle some of the hottest issues that are happening. And right now, nothing is hotter than the election, Vote 2024. And today we're talking about, just in a traditionally red state like Texas, does the Black vote matter? We know that the Black vote is crucial. We know that it matters, but a lot of people question, we're not a swing state. Does our vote really matter? We only make up about 12% of the voting population statewide. And so does it matter? So that's what we're talking about today. We'll have you guys jump right in. What do you think? Does it matter?
Well, I think it matters from the standpoint of, our voices. We want our voices to be heard. I mean, even if we can't necessarily, you know, influence it the way that we would want to, but I still think it's important. And then there are some local elections where our voices. I mean, clearly in Houston, we have a strong voice. I mean, there's a Democratic hold here, so we got to vote for those Democratic issues. When you talk about president, yeah, we may not necessarily get to choose our candidate in that way. But I remember when I worked in Florida for a while there, one of my colleagues, I was still living here but working in Orlando, and he suggested that I switch my voting to Florida, where at that time there was a chance for it to move. It was sort of like a swing state, but I still stayed with Texas, and I think that it's important that we do continue to vote, and who knows, maybe one day we'll make that impact we want.
Yeah, that I don't think people realize there are 2.9 million Texans, Black Texans, according to the Pew Research Center. And voting blocks, such as Black residents, have a big impact on local elections. And I think that's one of the key things that we need to always remember. Aswad, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I agree with what Terrence said, because when we're talking about local elections, you're talking about the judges that are going to sit in judgment of us, our cousins and them and whoever else. And it has already been shown and proven that Republican leaning judges, when you walk into the courtroom, they've already made up their mind about your guilt or guilt. And so you want folk that are going to look like you and see you as human, at least give you a chance to tell your side of the story. And then on the national front, I would say that we can influence maybe not this election, but future elections, because everyone looks at Texas. And if Texas shows a strong push towards, like you said, Rashonda, the Black voting bloc actually showing up, then that will energize other people. Because hell, Texas could already be blue if even 50% of registered Black voters actually turned out and voted.
And that's the thing I think we need to keep in mind, the swing potential. Everyone completely writes Texas off as a red state, but we've increasingly been seen as a potential swing state due to the demographic shifts and the population growth in urban areas. And the Black vote, combined with groups like Latinos and young voters, we have the power to narrow margins in key races. Even in statewide elections where Republicans traditionally win, a strong turnout among Black voters could tip the scales. Just ask Beto O'Rourke. He narrowly lost to Ted Cruz. And had those Black voters that sat home came out to vote, he could have easily won. And that's what Colin Aldridge is hoping for this turnaround, this go round.
And don't sleep on the
Uh-huh.
AAPI group also,
Yeah.
folk from India, Asia, etc. That they're doing big things out in Fort Bend County.
Yeah. Laura, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys. People need to realize that Texas is becoming increasingly diverse, and the Black populations are various. And so that also, I believe, will play a big part in how we vote, or whether it could be a potential blue state, hopefully. And also, we definitely have to take our collective vote seriously. Black people, we have power, and it shouldn't just focus on just the presidential election. The same energy that we have every 4 years needs to be applied at the local level, because yeah, like Aswad said, is those very local seats are the ones that are going to impact us when we eventually vote for our president. And so we just have to navigate how we can tap into that space, local and statewide, to make that impact. So yes,
And I get so upset sometimes when I'm sitting in the barber shop or, amongst friends here and they talk about how our vote doesn't count. And I think it goes back to even a more fundamental level. I mean, think about what our ancestors went through in order for us to be able to vote. Think about our family members in the 50s and the 60s and what they went through. And that alone shows that we have an obligation to show up at the polls and do whatever we can. I mean, and exercise our rights. And if we don't, then do we really have a right to complain?
And then also,
we'll be on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram complaining in a heartbeat. That's why.
yeah, I was just gonna add that. I mean, we're in Houston, and like Terrence said, we're in this blue bubble in a red state, but we're already seeing the negative impact of not showing up to the polls. The Houston mayor's office looks totally different, and the people that he has appointed looks totally different, and the agenda seems totally different, and we are absolutely not front and center anymore. And so voting absolutely makes a difference.
Both parties recognize the power of the Black vote, and they actively campaign to either engage or suppress it. Republicans diminish the turnout of Black voters, and that helps maintain the state's red status. Democrats energize the Black electorate, and that's central to the strategy to make Texas more competitive. In the end, it is all up to us, whether we show up to the polls. And we can't go in with my vote doesn't matter. We've seen it. Every single vote matters. All right, well, that is it for this edition of the Defender Roundtable. We'll be back next week talking about more hot topics.